What is going on, guys? Today I'm reviewing the Type 11 LMG. This is the newest LMG that came in our Into the Jungle chapter. You can unlock this new gun by ranking up your chapter rewards to level 10, something that shouldn't be all too hard for anyone to do if you're jumping on and getting some rounds in every single day. If you guys haven't heard yet, our Into the Jungle chapter is set to end at the very end of April and not on March 26th, the date our chapter reward screen says. So again, plenty of time to get to unlocking these new guns. Now, this new gun is a gun I said shouldn't be overlooked, as there's of course a lot of new stuff going on right now with the launch of our new chapter, and this new LMG right here might have slipped in as one of the best LMGs in the game. It much more resembles guns like the Bren or the Madsen MG, those further range light machine guns in the category. So if you prefer those two types of guns more and like extending the range out with your LMG, the Type 11 might just be your new gun of choice. Stock, this gun beats out most guns with its control, even with those guns having their control buffed with equipping their specializations. It does beat out the Bren with both guns at stock, but if the Bren upgrades its control through its specializations, you have to do the same with the Type 11 to maintain a better stat. The only gun that beats out its control is the Madsen MG, which is saying a lot, I think. If you guys have used the Madsen MG before, you are aware how stable that gun is and how it hardly even moves when you fire it. So for the Type 11 to fall just short when you equip its recoil specialization, I think says a lot to how pretty solid the control is for this gun. Now, this is something that I did find pretty interesting when comparing these two weapons. If you did pull up the specializations and chose the recoil buffer and skipped out on the accurate boosting specializations that you see on the right side, that we'll talk about more here in a little bit, you can see compared to the Madsen, it just falls short in its accuracy and its control, but look at the damage difference between these guns. This is something the Madsen did not have the luxury of, since it was the weakest LMG in the game. The Type 11, though, is tied for the best with several other guns, so right there, that might be enough for some people to skip out altogether on the Madsen and start only using the Type 11. A few more other things I should point out between these two guns is the Madsen does have a slightly better rate of fire. Not by much, though. It only has a 514 rate of fire to the Type 11's 510. Both of these guns are not that impressive with their rate of fire, with the Madsen being tied now for the second slowest next to the Bren, and the Type 11 now officially being the slowest LMG in the game. But that's the sacrifice you have to make with having a gun that is more accurate and has really good control. You're going to have to sacrifice that high rate of fire. So this gun might not be the LMG of choice to use in those close range battles. I mean, it will do better than the Madsen MG, which not only had a slow rate of fire, but a real poor damage output. At least the Type 11 does have pretty solid damage to it, but again, if you're prone to playing closer range, maybe something like the Browning Automatic might be your gun of choice. It does have some pretty solid damage, but also a 720 rate of fire, which is pretty good for an LMG. That gun, however, does have a very small magazine size, so fortunately for the Type 11, even though you don't have the best magazine size, at least you don't have the worst. And yeah, it makes it a bit easier for you to get more than one kill before you have to reload your gun, something that the Browning Automatic definitely struggles with. But with that said, if there's another kind of downside to the gun next to its real slow rate of fire, I would have to point out it only has one full auto fire mode, when the majority of the other LMGs have two different fire modes. Like the Madsen MG and the Bren both have a full auto and single fire mode, so in circumstances where you want to control your ammo better and be more precise, you won't have the option to switching to a single fire mode. It's not the end of the world, because again, the control and accuracy for the gun is pretty good, but that extra fire mode would have been pretty nice to still have. But let's go back and talk about the ammo for this gun. It actually has a unique specialization that we haven't seen before with the LMGs. It's called the Top Up specialization, and it enables a quick top up reload with stripper clips with 5, 10, 15, 20, or 25 shots left in the magazine. So because of this specialization, you'll be able to reload the gun much faster. Unfortunately though, it appears the animation for me is not working when I have this equipped. So with it working, you won't see your character just pull the whole case off the side of the gun, but instead you'll see them stack the clips individually. This makes it much faster, and it's pretty cool to see your character do this when it's working. I will link down the comments below a channel I saw featuring this where it is working for them, so you guys can check that out and see exactly how this reload animation would look like. But let's talk more about these specializations that we're seeing here, where there's a lot of options in my opinion you can do with this gun, and I think it would do well regardless of where you choose. So I still have here my recoil specialization equipped, where I'm narrowly falling short to the Madsen MG. You could go down and choose the high velocity bullets, which is definitely an option since you'll probably be playing further back with this gun. What I ended up doing though is going completely on the right side, completely maxing out my accuracy. Yes, I had to sacrifice the control for this gun, but like I said earlier, this gun's control stock isn't all too bad. Plus, by me maxing out my accuracy, I fall very short again to the Madsen MG with its accuracy specialization equipped. But again, like I talked about earlier, that damage difference is a huge difference maker between these two guns. So more what I was curious about was seeing how the Type 11 would hold up against the Bren. And it falls a little bit short again with its accuracy, but the difference the control makes with the Type 11 is much more significant in my opinion than the slightly better accuracy the Bren gun has. Remember, it too has a very slow 514 rate of fire like the Madsen MG does, and this time though has the exact same ammunition size as the Type 11, but hopefully now you guys see why I don't think the Type 11 shouldn't be overlooked, because again, it is competing very well with these two light machine guns that are pretty beastly to be using, whether you use the Bren or the Madsen. Like, either of these guns in those long range gameplay is going to be a pretty solid choice. So to see how well this new Type 11 stands up against these guns stat wise is again pretty impressive. We do have 3 different sights for the gun. There's the 3 time, the 1.25 time, and the 1 time. I do think the 1 time for the gun is something you probably won't want to be using. It's not like you still can't use the 1 time and not do really well with the gun, because again, the gun is pretty solid. But it's one of those situations where you won't be utilizing it to its full potential. So for me, I was using the 3 times scope, and that's when I felt like things were getting pretty intense when using the weapon, and when I felt like I was using the gun at its full potential. But overall, I actually really like using this gun. I'm pretty sure it's going to overtake using the Madsen MG for me. I was actually pretty impressed with the Madsen MG when it first came out. I liked how stable it was, and it was basically a laser beam when shooting the gun. The only pretty much complaint I had with the weapon was it was so underpowered that when I did try to get kind of close quarters, I did struggle with that really slow rate of fire and the underpowered damage that it has. So even though, you know, the new Type 11 isn't going to solve all that for me, and it's still meant to be a further range type of gun, I at least have a little bit more damage to it, so I can put you know, a little bit more of a pushback to players who are kind of close range. But, you know, again, you kind of want to stay as far back as possible, because again, this is more of a further range type of LMG you should be using. But it is a pretty good gun again, and I would be interested to hear what you guys think about this new weapon. This is something, again, I had made mention about that shouldn't be overlooked, and we have a lot of new content coming out, and so because of this, you know, it can kind of get slipped underneath, and we can be more focused about the, you know, kind of crazy assault weapon that just came out that was pretty interesting with its real high rate of fire, and how, you know, it's really accurate like a rifle, but it has a rate of fire of a submachine gun. So you can kind of get distracted with that in the new map and the lunge mine, and to completely forget that we have a new LMG that might just be one of the best in the game. But that is it for you guys today. Again, I always appreciate you guys being here. I am Livin', and I'll catch you guys again later.